Okay, let's dive right into an explainer that is literally going to shatter how you think about business education and success. We so often assume that mastering the business world requires years of grueling study, crazy complex math, and, well, most importantly, an incredibly expensive piece of paper from an Ivy League school. But what if the fundamentals of a successful enterprise, and honestly, a successful life, are actually way simpler than we've been led to believe? To really wrap our heads around this, I want you to picture a story. Imagine a powerful, highly successful corporate executive. He's totally stressed out, running on fumes, and he's finally taking his first vacation in 15 years. He's walking along a pier in this tiny coastal fishing village, and he meets a local fisherman who just docked his boat with a modest catch of incredibly high-quality tuna. The executive asks, "Hey, how long did it take you to catch those?" The fisherman just smiles and says, "Oh, only a little while." Puzzled, the executive asks what he does with the rest of his time. The fisherman replies that he sleeps late, fishes a little bit, plays with his kids, takes a siesta with his wife, and then strolls into the village every evening to sip wine and play guitar with his friends. Well, the executive, being a proud Harvard MBA, immediately shifts into full-on consulting mode. He advises the fisherman to maximize his operation, spend way more time fishing, use the profits to buy a bigger boat, and then eventually a whole fleet of boats. He tells him he could open a factory, control the distribution, and move to the big city to run a massive empire. The fisherman looks at him and asks, "But then what?" And the executive excitedly replies that eventually he could retire, move to a small coastal village, sleep late, fish a little, and play guitar with his friends. Think about that. The executive is literally advising the fisherman to build a massive, stressful empire just so he can eventually do exactly what he is already doing right now. This beautifully counterintuitive story perfectly illustrates the core message of our source material, The Personal MBA by Josh Kaufman. It just proves that traditional business thinking completely overcomplicates the true goal of business. You see, dollars aren't an end in themselves. Money is just a tool. And a business, it's really just a mechanism to help you build the life you actually want to live. Section 1, the business education myths. The crucial takeaway from this book is that you absolutely do not need a fancy degree to succeed. You really just need to overcome two massive mental roadblocks. The first one is business angst. That nagging feeling that you just don't know much about business, which makes you terrified to start a company or ask for that big promotion. The second is certification intimidation. This is the myth that business is some hyper-complex subject that should only be left to experts with elite degrees. If you're suffering from business angst or feeling intimidated because you don't have an expensive certificate on your wall, this explainer is going to radically increase your confidence. Section 2, powerful mental models. So instead of getting bogged down in complex spreadsheets, abstract formulas, and dense academic theories, the absolute smartest people in business rely on mental models. Think of it like driving a car. You inherently know that pressing the gas pedal makes you accelerate, right? If you hit the gas and the car slowed down, you'd be totally shocked. Well, that right there is a mental model. It's just a foundational concept that represents your understanding of how things work in the real world, and business is entirely built on these simple, overlapping models. Section 3, critically important assumptions. Let's look at how these models actually translate into real-world business planning. Imagine an excited first-time entrepreneur who desperately wants to open a brand new yoga studio in an underserved neighborhood. They think the market looks fantastic. They have this huge dream, they've sketched out the whole studio, and they're ready to drain their entire life savings to sign a commercial lease. But let's look at the actual math behind this dream for a second. We're talking $10,000 a month for rent, another $12,000 every single month for salaries and operating expenses, plus $5,000 upfront just to buy mats and computers. These numbers represent what we call critically important assumptions, or CIAs, and this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly fast unvalidated assumptions can completely bankrupt an excited business owner before they even open their doors. A critically important assumption is a fact that absolutely, positively must be true in the real world for your business to survive. In our yoga studio example, the founder is assuming the neighborhood actually has enough demand and discretionary income to pay a $100 monthly membership fee just to cover that massive overhead. If any of these CIAs turn out to be false, say the neighborhood simply can't afford that fee or the space just doesn't get enough foot traffic, the entire business model collapses. You have to identify and test your CIAs before you spend a dime. Section 4, delivering real value. Okay, so let's say you have a solid idea and you've proven your assumptions. Great. But now you actually have to deliver on your promises to your customers. Creating an amazing product or marketing it perfectly means absolutely nothing if you drop the ball at the finish line. Value delivery involves everything necessary to ensure that every single paying customer is a happy customer. Without value delivery, making sure people get exactly what they expect, you don't actually have a business. You literally have a scam. Customers want their benefits quickly, reliably, and consistently. To pull this off, you rely on a value stream. Let's think about the value stream of something super basic, like a bottle of Dawn dish soap. You can't just wish it into existence, right? It takes an entire system. You need chemists creating the formula, huge manufacturing plants producing the liquid, factories bottling and packaging it, and then this massive logistics network distributing it to store shelves. It takes a complete system to successfully deliver value right into the hands of a consumer.
Section 5. Systemizing your business.
Systemizing is the lifeblood of any scalable operation. Take a look at this incredible number, 0.2. What does this actually represent? Well, 0.2 seconds is all it takes for Google's algorithm to return your search results from across the entire internet with absolutely zero human intervention. I mean, that is an astounding achievement of systemization. Can you imagine the absolute nightmare if Google relied on a massive team of human librarians instead of an automated system? You'd be waiting days, weeks, or maybe even months just to get a single search result back. Automation and clear processes allow a business to operate flawlessly, all while freeing up the team to focus on improving the system rather than just frantically running it. A lot of folks avoid creating systems because it feels like extra work up front. But the reality is, good systems make your work easier, not harder.
Section 6. Redefining business success.
Let's pull all of this together. Finance is one of those words that usually makes our eyes glaze over. We picture these overflowing spreadsheets and statistics that act like ancient tea leaves for predicting the future. But at its core, finance shouldn't be about complex abstractions. It's really just about knowing if an investment is actually worth the time and money you're pouring into it, and making sure the business brings in enough profit to make it worthwhile to keep going. Consider a great story from the text about the author's grandfather. After returning from World War II, he started a construction company. In 1965, he launched his most ambitious project ever, a massive 5-story, 26-unit apartment building in Akron, Ohio. Now, when you take on massive investments like that, things don't always go according to plan. And sometimes the hardest business decision you'll ever make is knowing exactly when to walk away. Which brings us to this hilarious but deeply true quote from comedian W.C. Fields. He said, "If at first you don't succeed, try again, then quit. There's no point in being a damn fool about it." I love that. It perfectly encapsulates the mental model of sunk cost. In finance and honestly in life, you have to know when an investment is no longer serving you, no matter how much time, energy, or money you've already spent on it. Do not throw good money after bad just because of your sunk costs. And that brings us right back to our fisherman from the very beginning of our explainer. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu said, "Know contentment and you will suffer no disgrace." Business is not about endlessly maximizing profits just for the sake of having a bigger number on a spreadsheet somewhere. It's about a concept called sufficiency. It's about bringing in enough to support the exact life you actually want to live without sacrificing the very things that make life worth living in the first place. So I want to leave you with this final thought to apply to your own journey. Think about your goals right now, your current job, or that company you've been wanting to start. Are you using these mental models to build a life of sufficiency and happiness? Or are you trapped by the myth of needing a bigger boat? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you focus on what truly matters in your business.